Below is scene 1 expanded to approximately 1,000 words, written smoothly as one continuous narrative and without headings, just as you asked. Dash dash dash. The dinner rush at Harper's Diner always felt like a living thing, breathing, pulsing, sweating. Maya moved through it like she'd trained all her life for this rhythm, though in truth she'd only been a waitress for 3 months. 3 months of aching feet, stiff shoulders, endless orders, and the strange satisfaction that came from earning every dollar herself. She tied her dark hair back into a tighter ponytail as she balanced a tray of burgers and milkshakes. A couple of teenagers at booth 9 thanked her with shy smiles. She liked those ones, polite, easy, grateful. Working here showed her so much about people. How some spoke to her like she was invisible. How others overshared with someone they assumed they'd never see again. How some customers couldn't look past the apron and name tag, as if those things defined her entire worth. She was learning what it meant to be ordinary. And she was proud of it. She was halfway back to the counter when she heard the snapping fingers. Waitress. Here. Table 7. She'd been avoiding eye contact with them for as long as possible. A woman in her mid-40s and her husband, both dressed in expensive but flashy clothes, the kinds that broadcast money without elegance. People who acted like sitting in a diner was an act of condescension toward the universe. Yes, ma'am, Maya said with her most professional smile. The woman's heavily ringed hand lifted, and the sequins on her cardigan sparkled like a warning flare. I want to pay now. We're in a hurry. Of course. Maya printed the bill, set it neatly on the table, and stepped back. The woman took out her card, but as she reached to place it down, she froze. Her whole expression shifted from annoyance to shock in a single blink. Where is it? Where is what? Maya asked. My bracelet. The woman snapped. It was right here. A gold bangle with diamonds. It's gone. Maya blinked slowly, trying to stay calm. I didn't see a bracelet, ma'am. The woman stared at her like she'd grown horns. Don't lie to me. I left it right there. She pointed again at the empty corner of the table. I never touched anything on your table, Maya said. Maybe it fell. I can help you look for. Oh please. The woman's voice rose, sharp enough for heads to turn. You've been lurking around this table all night. Don't act innocent. Maya felt heat flush her cheeks. I've been serving the entire section, not lurking. And I would never steal. The woman laughed sourly, her voice dripping mockery. A likely story. Maybe you think you can pawn it for a few hundred and get away with it. Maya's throat tightened. She could hear her pulse pounding in her ears. She had dealt with rude customers, impatient customers, entitled customers, but never an accusation like this. Ma'am, I really didn't. You know what? The woman stood abruptly, pulling her phone from her purse in one dramatic sweep. I'm calling the police. Maya's stomach dropped. Ma'am, please. No. Someone needs to teach you that you can't just take whatever you want because you think no one's watching. Her husband half-heartedly murmured something, but the woman had already dialed. Loudly. So loudly that the entire diner heard every word. Yes, this is an emergency. A theft. A waitress stole my diamond bracelet. Yes. At Harper's Diner. We need officers immediately. The room went silent. Maya felt 20 pairs of eyes on her, some sympathetic, some curious, some judgmental. The manager rushed over, trying to placate the woman, but she swatted him away like he was an annoying fly. Check her pockets if you want to help. She barked. Maya stepped back, her voice small. I didn't do anything. 20 minutes later, the police arrived. 2 officers in navy uniforms pushed through the double doors with serious expressions, one already adjusting his body cam. The atmosphere tightened instantly, even the sizzle from the kitchen seemed to fade. That's her, the woman exclaimed, pointing at Maya with triumphant indignation. She stole my bracelet. The officers walked to Maya, their boots loud against the tile floor. Ma'am, one said, we need to ask you a few questions. I didn't take anything, Maya said immediately, terrified at how shaky her voice sounded. We still need to follow procedure, the second officer said. We'll need to conduct a search. Her heart hammered. A search. In front of everyone. It'll be quick, the first officer said. Please turn around. Maya's breath caught. But I didn't. Turn around, ma'am. Before she could take another breath, the officer grabbed her arm and turned her toward the wall. A gasp went up from somewhere behind her. She felt the cold tiles against her cheek. Their hands were firm, too firm, pinning her in place. Spread your feet, the officer ordered. Maya felt humiliation burn deep into her bones. She heard someone whisper, is she resisting? She heard phones unlocking. Cameras recording. She wanted the floor to open and swallow her. I swear I didn't take anything, she whispered. We'll sort it out, the officer muttered, cuffing her wrists so tightly the metal bit into her skin. And then suddenly a shout broke the tension. Wait, everyone turned. The woman's husband was holding up her cardigan. Honey, look. The woman frowned. What? He shook the sleeve. A clinking sound hit the table. The bracelet slid out and landed near the salt shaker. A wave of shock rolled through the diner. The woman's face drained of color. It must have, she stuttered, blinking rapidly. It must have slipped. Maya closed her eyes for a moment, feeling tears sting behind them, not of relief but humiliation. The officers loosened their grip, but not by much. Still need to confirm, one muttered, unsure now, awkwardly shifting his weight. And then, the diner doors swung open with a gust of cold air. A commanding voice filled the room like thunder rolling across a plain. That won't be necessary. Every single head turned toward the entrance. A tall man in a tailored charcoal coat stepped inside, flanked by two sharply dressed security guards. His presence was like gravity, heavy, unmistakable, powerful. His eyes scanned the scene once, landed on the officers restraining his daughter, and hardened like steel. It was Adam Sterling, one of the richest, most influential men in the country. And Maya's father. Maya's breath hitched. Dad. He strode forward, jaw locked so tight the muscles twitched beneath the skin. His voice was calm, but deadly cold. Take your hands off my daughter. The officers jolted as though electricity shot through them. They released her instantly, stepping back and sputtering apologies. Sir, we didn't know. That, Adam said, turning his razor-sharp glare on them, is exactly the problem. His eyes shifted to the woman who had accused Maya. She shrank back into her seat like a scolded child. You humiliated her, he said, voice low and dangerous. You accused her without proof. And you let the whole room watch while she was treated like a criminal. No one dared move. Even the grills in the kitchen seemed to quiet. Adam turned back to Maya. Are you hurt? She shook her head, though her wrists throbbed. His jaw softened only for her. Come here. And as he placed a protective arm around her shoulders, the entire diner realized the truth. The girl they had watched being shoveled against a wall like a thief was a billionaire's daughter. And no one who stood in that diner would ever forget the moment they learned it. Here's Scene 2 expanded to approximately 1,000 words, continuing seamlessly from Scene 1, fully written as one continuous narrative without headings. The next morning, Maya sat in a sleek leather chair, the harsh fluorescent lights of Sterling Holdings' conference room casting a cold glow over the polished mahogany table. The officers, the diner manager, and the woman who had falsely accused her were already seated, each shifting nervously in their chairs. Outside, luxury sedans idled while security personnel monitored the area, and through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city buzzed on as if unaware of the scandal that had erupted the night before. Maya's father, Adam Sterling, stood at the head of the table, his presence commanding the room without a single raised voice. He was impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit, tie perfectly knotted, shoes polished to a mirror shine, and his eyes carried the quiet weight of someone who was used to being obeyed without question. Despite his imposing demeanor, Maya could feel the protective edge in his posture, the way his shoulder brushed hers when he leaned slightly closer, a silent reminder that she was not alone. The woman who had accused her, Mrs. Hendricks, sat clutching her designer purse as though it could shield her from the storm. She avoided Maya's eyes, focusing instead on the stack of papers in front of her. Her husband sat beside her, pale and fidgety, muttering occasional apologies that went unheard over the tension in the room. Maya inhaled slowly, letting the controlled calm she had been practicing all week settle over her. She didn't want to rage, didn't want to demand revenge. She wanted justice, clarity, and for everyone involved to understand the weight of their actions. Her father's lawyers had prepared everything, ensuring that this meeting would not only resolve the matter but also set an example. Assumptions and false accusations could not go unchecked, no matter who you thought you were. Adam cleared his throat, the sound echoing in the room like a gavel. Let's get started. Ms. Hendricks, you've admitted that your bracelet was found on your own clothing. Is that correct? The woman nodded, her face flushing. Yes, but it was an accident. An accident, Adam repeated slowly, letting the words hang in the air. You accused my daughter publicly, called the police, and allowed her to be physically restrained. An accident is spilling coffee. An accident is forgetting a dinner date. Accusing someone of theft and having them arrested is a deliberate action. Maya shifted slightly, feeling a small surge of confidence. She had rehearsed this conversation in her head countless times, but now that it was real, she realized she didn't need to rehearse at all. She knew the truth, and that was all she needed. The diner manager cleared his throat. I just want to apologize. I should have intervened sooner, but his voice trailed off, shame written across his face. You should have, Adam said sharply, eyes locking on him for just a second before moving back to Maya. This is why proper training is essential. Assumptions and fear should never dictate actions, especially when it comes to someone's freedom and dignity. Maya watched Mrs. Hendricks fidget, her hands twisting the strap of her purse, the sequins from her cardigan catching the light in awkward flashes. I'm sorry, she finally muttered, her voice small. I let my temper get the best of me. I thought. You thought wrongly, Maya interrupted gently but firmly. You assumed. You acted without proof. And because of that, I was humiliated, physically restrained, and treated like a criminal for something I didn't do. She let her words sink in, each syllable deliberate. It doesn't matter who my father is. No one deserves that treatment. Mrs. Hendricks swallowed hard, glancing down at her hands. I understand. Adam interjected smoothly. We are here to resolve this matter. The police officers involved will be receiving disciplinary action and training to prevent similar mistakes in the future. We are documenting this incident fully, and it will be reported to your precinct. Procedural errors like these are not acceptable, and the fact that Ms. Sterling was handled physically exacerbates the situation. One of the officers cleared his throat, his face pale. Sir, we made a mistake. We should have verified the claim before taking action. We didn't mean to. You didn't mean to. Adam's voice cut through the room like a whip. That isn't the point. Intent doesn't erase impact. You physically handled someone you had no evidence against. That is unacceptable, and it will be treated as such. The officers nodded quickly, the weight of the billionaire's presence pressing down on them. It wasn't just money, Maya realized, it was authority, influence, and the understanding that her father would not tolerate injustice against her, or anyone else, lightly. The diner manager leaned forward again. I promise we'll improve our training. We'll ensure staff knows how to handle accusations properly. We'll teach them to intervene sooner, to de-escalate situations before calling the police unnecessarily. Maya nodded, appreciating the effort but also aware that words alone weren't enough. That's a start, she said quietly. But I want to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. That's why I'm here. Not for revenge, not for punishment, but for accountability. Because when someone is falsely accused, it isn't just humiliating, it's dangerous. Mrs. Hendricks finally looked up at her, her eyes watery. I truly am sorry, she whispered. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I panicked. Maya studied her, noticing not malice but fear, entitlement, and regret. I forgive you, she said softly, surprising herself with the sincerity. But forgiveness doesn't erase the lesson. Make sure you remember that before pointing fingers in the future. The room fell silent for a moment, the kind of silence that carries both relief and gravity. Outside, a security camera caught the entire scene, though for Maya, this wasn't about the cameras. This was about truth, responsibility, and dignity. Finally, Adam leaned back slightly, the rigid tension in his shoulders easing just a fraction. Maya, are you ready to go? He asked, his voice warmer now, though still carrying that undercurrent of authority that had everyone frozen in place moments ago. She nodded. Yes. The officers and the woman's husband shuffled papers and murmured awkward goodbyes, while Mrs. Hendricks gave a small nod of acknowledgement, a silent concession that her assumptions had caused real harm. The diner manager lingered, giving Maya a brief hug. Thank you for handling this with grace. I'm going to make sure we all learn from this. As they walked toward the elevator, Maya felt her father's hand brush against hers, a small gesture of reassurance. He didn't need to say anything, she already knew he was proud of her. Not because of wealth, influence, or status, but because she had faced humiliation, fear, and injustice, and had done it with poise. The elevator doors closed, and the city stretched out beneath them, indifferent to the chaos of yesterday. Cameras clicked outside, journalists scribbled notes, and the world, as it always does, continued spinning. But for Maya, something inside had shifted. She felt stronger, steadier, more certain. Not because her father had intervened, but because she had stood her ground and made herself heard. As the elevator descended, she looked up at him, a quiet smile tugging at her lips. I don't want special treatment, she said. I want to live a life I've earned. Adam's smile, rare and private, softened his usually stern features. And you will. Because you've already earned it, in ways no one else can measure. They stepped out into the lobby, the sunlight streaming through the glass doors, warming the marble floor. Reporters were waiting, cameras flashing, but Maya lifted her chin. She didn't need to hide or apologize. She wasn't just the daughter of a billionaire. She was a woman who refused to be silenced, humiliated, or defined by other people's assumptions. And that, she realized, was a power far greater than any wealth her family could offer. If you want, I can also create matching image prompts for both scenes that would visually capture the diner chaos and the corporate confrontation. This could be useful for illustrations, storyboards, or social media storytelling. Do you want me to make them?